Alright, welcome back to some Ravenswatch. Today we're going to be checking out Geppetto's second ultimate. It is Overclock. Make all dummies spin around and track nearby enemies, each one dealing 50 damage per second to all around. It's exactly what it sounds like. Your dummies are going to start spinning and they're going to move around chasing after enemies, not in the hopping fashion. They're going to be like gliding around like tops and deal damage all around them continuously. Now, I have used it a few times. I've been trying to do a video for this a little bit now, but I keep hitting problems and problems and problems. So what I'm probably going to do, this won't be a little different than normal, show you a couple different clips of me using it through my past attempts. It's okay. I'll start by saying it's okay. I don't dislike it, but I don't love it either. So I'll put in some of these clips of like how it is and it works, and then I'll kind of share my thoughts.
Now that's what I call a good apprentice. This nightmare could have taught us much. Earn your oil. Form your stuff. With a bang! Now that's what I call a good apprentice. They have no strategy. Excellent bitch. For my scoundrels. That's efficiency.
So, like I said, I don't mind it. It's okay, you know. It's not bad. It's not super amazing either. It's kind of temperamental. I'll say temperamental. Because on some of my first few attempts, because I've tried it like 4 times now, and on some of my first attempts, like it just did not work very well because its damage is so reliant on actually having out a bunch of your dummies. And if you don't have at least 3 dummies out, it's not super amazing. I am just gonna say Mecha Puppet is better, you know? You have to make sure that you have enough of your dummies out. And that being said, in order to make sure this one works well, you pretty much need to have the Dummy Ball upgrade or your Twin Dummies upgrade as your first starting upgrades. If you have the Rocket Science or Unstable Cores, it's not going to be nearly as good because you want to be able to put out enough of your guys to actually deal damage. Now, other problems I had with it, you know, outside of like it being a little tricky to use. It's tricky in that you have to make sure you have enough guys. The other issues I kind of had was some of the tracking. They do chase after enemies fairly well, but there were some of them where it felt like, you know, they got all my dummies got spread out, and so they're chasing after enemies, their own targets. But the guys are almost like moving and kiting around. They're advancing around, and so my guys end up spending a bunch of time just like chasing after enemies, and they don't actually seem to deal a whole lot of damage. They seem to work best when they're already kind of on top of the target, and then I've got multiple on the same target. One guy on a single dude is okay, and the area like spinning all around them, it's just not a large enough area where I feel like I notice it hitting a lot of guys at once. Maybe I'm wrong. This is, me, the inexpert's opinion. One of the other things with it, it kind of goes with the tracking as well, is I used it once where, you probably saw, I had them kind of in a corner, I activated it, and they basically just went into the corner trying to go directly towards the enemy. And, that's more on me than it is on the dummies, because they don't have advanced tracking abilities, right? They go towards an enemy and it happens to be a straight line. That's just how it is, and that's fine. I have no problems with that. It just makes it harder for me because I need to make sure I'm aware of where they are at and when I activate it, and sometimes I can be good about that, sometimes I am not going to be good about it. So take that as you will. The last thing, and this is probably my biggest complaint about it, or biggest flaw for it, we'll say the biggest flaw, is your dummies. So it's a double-edged sword. The dummies are still affected by your abilities. So while they're spinning around, you can use your shield to make sure they stay alive, because they can die, they can get killed, which can work in your advantage. If you have the Morning Rage and one of your dummies dies, suddenly the rest of your dummies are all powered up for a little bit, and they're going to deal more damage, which is nice. It's a little consolation prize for losing one of your DPS sources. So yeah, there is the pro side of it, as well as the shield protecting it. You can heal them with your Cog Explosion, your special ability, all those things. Negative, the downside. When I hit them with oiled mechanisms, my dummy stopped moving. It seemed like he got pulled out of the ultimate effect, and then he was just back to using just standard attacks. And that was pretty obnoxious. I didn't like that at all, because just without really looking at the numbers, doing the oiled mechanisms, they do an attack in their area dealing 40% damage. So right now, he's doing 40 damage. This should be 50 damage a second. So depending on how fast I'm attacking, I'm not doing nearly that much damage. So it felt like a DPS loss. Plus, he's not moving. So if I was relying on the guy chasing after targets and kind and getting them, I lost that completely. It was gone. It's not going to happen anymore. So that's my one other kind of critique for it. On the whole, it's okay. I might pick it if I do have the twin dummies and dummy ball trade effects, because they synchronize really well. The other piece too is if you get the large family so that you can have 4 dummies out instead of 3, that's a whole extra 50 damage a second. That is a pretty huge increase. So, if you have those combinations, I would definitely say Overclock is maybe the way to go. But if you don't have those, definitely if you don't have one of these two, go with some Mecha Puppet. Just go with that one. Because I found that, I was not... When I wanted to use the ultimate, I didn't have all my dummies out. I was spending too much time trying to go, all right, I want to use it, but I have to get all of my dummies out now, because if you use your ultimate and you don't have all your dummies out, any that you put out after the fact will not be part of the effect. So they're just going to be regular standing and hopping in place. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, it's a little bit different, but that's my thoughts on it. I'll be doing some more videos on a couple different things. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. And as always, take care of yourselves.